ambao hawakulala kwa darasa. Uliza your fans wakusaidia. What's the other meaning of malaika away from angel? Ask them.
What's the meaning of the other word for malaika?
That's it?
Other than angel.
Ask it properly. Ask them.
Malaika has two meanings.
Yes, one
is angel.
What's the other one?
Malaika.
Your design.
See malika.
Malaika. Let's see amongst your network.
Nisaidieni.
Omba vizuri, msaada ayomwi na kiburi. Omba as though you are in need. Omba kwa, like be humble and ask for help in a humble way.
Ninaomba msamaha.
See msamaha. You're not asking for forgiveness. You're asking for help, assistance. So say it in English. For instance, you want the other meaning for malaika away from angel. Say it in English. Sema kwa kizungu, guys. Kindly, anyone out there,
help me out with the other meaning of the word malaika.
Away from
angel.
Your design. Please. Sasa sema na Kiswahili. Tafadhali naomba watu ambao mnanisikiza na nyinyi marafiki zangu,
unipatie maana ya neno malaika.
Tofauti na
angeli.
Tafadhalini na waomba.
Iya,
nisaidieni na jibu. Ijumaa ya leo. No hint. We are talking about 100,000, man. You've never even bet on 100,000 for me. Walai, sina 100,000 like right now.
Yes.
But I can pay you 10,000 bob on a monthly.
For the next 10 months.
For the next 10 months. If you can tell me what barren in Swahili is. And like we're trying to be very sensitive. No offense to anyone who's barren, right?
Right.
In reference to
the draw, football, yes.
Derby.
Bila mtoto.
Yeah, bila mtoto.
Oh God.
Na unajua anakuanga discriminated against in society.
Sana.
I know you.
Okay, give me the first letter.
Hakuna. It's 100,000.
It's
It's 100,000. No hints, no nothing.
It's a very short word.
4-letter word.
It's a 4-letter word?
Jeffrey usianze. Haezi ona hata akioneshwa. Unaangalia pesa balance. 100,000, 10,000 a month for the next 10 months.
For the next 10 months.
Because I can't afford 100,000 a month.
Give me the first letter, please.
No. 100,000.
Kwa iba exam wewe walai.
Those days were rough.
Hivi live by the hivi.
100,000.
Ah.
Kama kuna mtu amekutumia kitu. Chebiza wetua. Chebiza amekutumia hii.
Chebiza umetype saa ngapi?
Chebiza unataka ninyoroshwe na watoto napeleka shule.
100K.
100,000.
And the answer is
hiyo design. Kiti songesha. Haya. Alafu tukisema oringo unasema mbaya ya. Oringo unasema mbaya. Sawa?
Hiyo mbaya ya.
Yes. Oringo
mbaya ya.
Oringo
mbaya ya.
Oringo
mbaya ya.
Oringo
mbaya ya.
Nawe Jeffu shika magoti tukuone urembo wako. Oringo
mbaya ya.
Oringo
mbaya.
Oringo Oringo
Aya
Jeffu shika magoti tukuone urembo. Unakuwa proud. So kama peacock.
Okay.
Ushika magoti alafu unaonyesha urembo wako sawa. Oringo
baya.
Oringo
baya.
Oringo
baya.
Oringo
baya.
Nawe Jeffu shika magoti tukuone urembo wako. Oringo
baya.
Oringo
Nivyo.
Yes. Did you ever do that?
Never.
Guy. How long can you host a guest? How long can you?
Right now?
Yes. How long can you host a guest? For how long or how many days?
Before you start getting what? Restless.
No, irritated. Like, don't you have other things to do or other places to go?
Guy.
You're getting it. That was the essence. So don't overstay.
You're welcome.
Sawa. Does it make sense? Walikuwa nito wahenga mzee. Walikuwa na wisdom. Wisdom.
In Kiswahili?
Yeah.
In Kiswahili?
Everything that I have, man.
Utanipatia zote?
Everything.
Hata ya mafuta?
Everything that I have. Chibiza how much?
2,400.
Wisdom and 50.
22.50.
Wow. Wisdom wise. Wisdom.
Utilifu.
Utilifu. Kuna utiifu. Kuna uadilifu. Those are Swahili words. Right. But wisdom is none of those. Okay. Wekelea yako.
Gani?
Si tuna bet.
Si una ile ingine yangu?
Bro, sasa umeanza kukua.
Unayo au hunayo?
Sina.
Ai.
Si mimi nimewekelea, wekelea.
Toa kwa ile 5,000.
Guy.
Na John O'Shea Nguruge anasema mnamaliza mzae.
Haina shida, mimi niko side hustle. Hiyo design. Wisdom. 450 bob. Wisdom kama Suleimani. You know, people really like it when you count your fingers. As though you're going to get answers from counting of your fingers.
Yeah. Is it in the national anthem somewhere?
I don't think so. H-E.
H-E. Hekima.
Yani umegrab hiyo do.
Hekima.
But nimekupatia yote. Nimekupatia all the letters. So nirudishie kitu.
Chukua 450. Hekima.
Look at Jeff being so happy. Sababu ya kupata pesa kitu.
Wamepata 2,000 ya Igunza.
Hiyo design. Asio. Twende kazi.
You know, Rwanda had been in conflict for many years, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly there was a peace meeting in Arusha,
Tanzania.
Yeah, between Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, all those countries.
Yeah.
A couple of days before. So the peace meeting ended, and it ended very well. And Rwanda President Juvenal Habyarimana, remember those days?
Habyarimana. I don't remember, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
So he decided to give his colleague a ride home. Sini na ndege yangu?
Yeah.
Burundi hakuwa na ndege.
Alikuwa anatumia baiskeli.
Akisema si unipatie?
Lift.
Wakaingia kwa ndege pamoja.
Yes.
So now they're flying to Kigali. They drop off Habyarimana, and then they'll take Burundian president onto Bujumbura. As the plane is approaching Kigali Airport, and you can see Kigali Airport, it's clear from the mountains, because like you said earlier on, it's the land of 1,000 hills.
Yeah.
So from the hills, it's approaching Kigali Airport. All of a sudden, an RPG was fired from somewhere.
RPG.
Rocket-propelled grenade.
Yeah.
Boom. It hit the plane.
Into flames.
Immediately. Everyone in the plane was killed.
God.
So President of Rwanda, President of Burundi, their aides, pilots, Kilamtu.
Out.
Yeah. What people didn't realize this was the trigger for the next day onwards. Because that same night, roadblocks were set up across Kigali.
Roadblocks.
Yes.
The agenda?
The agenda is to stop everyone who was who was Tutsi.
Yeah.
These were Hutu militiamen known as the Interahamwe,
Meaning
those who hunt and kill together.
Interahamwe. Kama tuehamwe.
Tuehamwe, exactly.
Yes.
So roadblocks set across the city. Cars would stop. They'd say, "Okay, who are you?" Oh, okay, where? Toka.
Butchered.
Panga. Next one. Kill. I mean, that night they killed so many people, and all Tutsis.
And where, why, what?
The genocide has started. I mean, the Hutus were the majority, are the majority in Rwanda for many years.
Hutus.
Tutsi are the minority. But obviously Tutsis had held all the top jobs. So there's that, conflict.
Yeah.
Right away there was that conflict.
Yeah.
Wake up the next morning, it continued. And continued.
The massacre.
Now, the prime minister of Rwanda was a woman. Her name was Agatha. Yes. She was guarded by Belgian troops. Right?
Mm-hmm. As a matter of protocol.
Correct. 10 Belgian troops and, of course, Rwandans as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know these rebels invaded her yard, killed all the Belgian troops, killed all the other troops, raped her for a day and a half, and then killed her? Prime Minister Agatha.
She was Hutu.
She was...
Or Tutsi.
She was Tutsi.
Guy.
There was a Belgian peacekeeping force in Rwanda at the time.
Yeah.
Led by... Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Even being red is okay. But led by
a Canadian general. Led by a Canadian general called Romeo Dallaire.
Yeah.
He was in charge of all these troops, and he saw what was going on in the city. And those days were faxes. There was no WhatsApp. There was no internet. There was no
telephone, mobile.
Yeah, it was faxes. So he sent a very urgent fax to the UN saying, the country is going to hell. We need more troops. Please authorize more peacekeepers. Akatuma your fax. Guess who was in charge of peacekeeping at the time?
CG.
Kofi Annan. He wasn't Secretary General yet.
No.
He was in charge of peacekeeping. Iyo fax ilikaa hapo sijui how many days and was ignored. So the troops never arrived. And the massacres continued. Now think about this for a moment.
Yeah.
At the end of 100 days of madness and mayhem, right? 1 million, mostly Tutsis, had been massacred. 1 million, right?
Yeah.
So let's come back.
Yeah.
1 million divided by 100 is 10,000 people a day.
Hey.
I'll say that again. 10,000, mostly Tutsis, were being slaughtered every single day for 100 days. Many were being dumped in pit latrines, in the rivers, in churches, schools, hospitals, clinics, you name, in their homes. Many homes were invaded. And I'm telling you, it was madness. Now imagine you, a Tutsi family, what do? You're trying to flee. There's roadblocks everywhere. You get to the roadblocks, you are killed in front of your children. And then your children killed after that. And your wife raped and then killed. Oh man, it was the most tragic event of the last half century.
And what did the international community say? Or what was their reaction?
I'll tell you, it's funny you asked that. At the very same time, the entire world was focused on a place called Pretoria in South Africa for the inauguration of the country's first ever black president.
Madiba.
I mean, it was a great event. It was fantastic. It was a good news event. But the entire world's media was in South Africa. Nobody could point out this tiny little country 3,000 kilometers to the north called Rwanda on the map. Nobody knew where it was. Nobody knew, and it seemed like nobody cared. So the killing spree continued. I was in town after town. I visited after the genocide.
So you were deployed?
Yes.
You were at Reuters?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, we would arrive at a village. Like there's one 30 minutes outside Kigali called Nharama. And we entered the church. This was about a few years later. We entered the church. And there was like maybe 1,000 bodies
piled up,
still piled up a few years later. There were skulls on the bookshelves and everything. You could see skulls. People had piled them up.
Guy.
Not a single body had been moved to be reburied elsewhere. These people wanted the world to know that this is what happened and we shouldn't forget. I walked up to the podium because there was a Bible there on the podium and I just wanted to see what it looked like, from the podium side.
So when you're reporting?
Yes.
And this is like a year later?
About a couple of years later.
Oh.
And there was a verse right there in front of me. I could see it real clear. Thou shalt not kill. And yet the room is full of dead bodies. Women, children, men, young men, old women. Oh, man. I've never seen anything like it. And when we went town after town after town, it was the same thing. In secondary schools, they did the same thing. In primary schools, they would grab little kids who were 2 years old and slam their heads against the wall.
Oh.
Slam their heads. They wanted to annihilate the entire Tutsi community from the face of the
earth. And how well coordinated was this? Because if it's happening town to town, church to church, school to school, how well coordinated?
You can say very well coordinated, because the Hutus knew. They had a list and they used radio to communicate their message. But they had a list of, Igunza is a Tutsi. Okay, he lives here. We're going to his house. Chebaibai, also Tutsi. We are married to a Hutu. It doesn't matter. They're all going to die.
Yeah.
They didn't want the blood to be mixed.
So you said if you were a Tutsi, you were taken out. If you are a Hutu married to a Tutsi,
taken out.
If you are a Tutsi married to a Tutsi,
taken out.
If you are a Hutu marrying a Tutsi,
out.
Anything related to the Tutsi was done away with.
They wanted to annihilate the entire tribe.
Because there are only two of them.
There's actually three, but the other one it's called Toa. The Pygmies.
Yeah.
But very, very insignificant, tiny tribe.
So
imagine 100 days of that. 100 days.
1 million.
1 million Tutsis massacred.
And this is just give or take. These are approximations.
Exactly, because a lot of bodies were not found. A lot of them, were in mass graves. Pit latrines was very popular for this, because they can dump them. Nobody will know. If it wasn't for the young, tall, skinny former rebel leader,
turned liberator,
turned president,
Paul
Kagame, this would have gone on and on, honestly. He stopped the madness and the mayhem.
He's a Tutsi.
He's Tutsi, and he had grown up in Uganda. In fact, he was Museveni's military intelligence officer. So they had to gather troops and move in from Uganda into Rwanda to stop this whole wall that was just going across country. And it took a while, but they did it. And for the next, look at that, we're 31 years later. Yes, he's still in power.
Yeah.
But Kigali, Rwanda, is one of the safest places on the planet to be.
Yeah.
You never, ever need to feel
insecure.
But what they did is that they chased the Hutus across the border to the DRC.
Really?
About 2 million Hutus were chased across the border to DRC. And they ended up in refugee camps in the DRC. Right?
Yeah.
Year after they gave birth, the children grew up. And they grew up with all this anger.
The Tutsi children?
No, Hutu.
Hutu children.
Hutu. And they always said, we're going to come back and finish our job.
Really?
That's what they said. And now that the children were in their 20s, that's a generation of young, angry Hutus. They're still there. That's why there's always these skirmishes. That's why you see M23. That's why you see all this stuff going on. It's not just about the minerals. these guys want to come back and finish the job.
So question is, right now in Rwanda, hakuna Wahutu.
Kunao, they're fine. I mean, and they get along. I mean, in fact, you can't mention the words Tutsi and Hutu in Kigali.
It's abominable.
Utashikwa. They're all Rwandans.
Yeah.
And there's a new generation who doesn't care, where you come from and what you did and everything. Right? Mm-hmm. And Kagame has managed to, gel all these together.
There's that thing they came up with, like our version of that reconciliation.
They call it Gashasha. They're courts where they sit down in a community. Let's say where you come from, Vihiga. You sit down and they know that Kianda killed your family, and they bring Kianda here, and they say, Kianda, tell us how it went. And Kianda says, yeah, I saw Igunza. I was told to by so-and-so, and I had to, hack him and his wife and his 3 children and throw their bodies in the pit latrine. I admit.
And I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry. Once you admit, you let go. But you do a lot of the masterminds of the genocide. They escaped through Kenya. Mm-hmm. Some of them were housed here for a while.
Really?
Nakumbuka
ule Afro.
Alikuwa hapa.
And billionaire.
Mwingine alishikwa France juzi, nakumbuka Kabuga. Remember that name? Felician Kabuga.
Yeah.
He had spent a lot of time in Kenya and then ended up in France, living his life for like 30 years, living his life. He was arrested, I think, 2 years ago.
Millions wamekuwa murdered.
So many. But Kagame vowed every one of them will be killed. Everyone who was involved in the genocide will find you and we will kill you.